So I finally got around to watching the long-awaited Winnie the Pooh horror movie, and I know I said I wasn't going to do a video about it because I really didn't think I had that much to say, but I decided fuck it. The more I've thought about it, the more I've realized that I can at least churn out a quickie, if nothing else. So without wasting any time, let's talk about the cinematic masterpiece that is Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Now, going in, I was expecting a dumb but fun horror movie that really doesn't take itself too seriously and just has fun with the premise, but that is not at all what we got. This movie treats itself like an honest-to-God horror movie, and it had me dying in the theater with some of the shit that it did. Like, you really get the impression that this was some indie filmmaker's passion project, and for some reason he wanted to use these beloved, iconic cartoon characters to make his dream a reality. So for any of you who don't know the story here, basically at the beginning of last year, the characters of Winnie the Pooh entered the realm of public domain, meaning that anyone can use their names and likenesses for anything that they want. And for some reason, probably for name recognition to bolster sales if I had to guess, some guy decided to make a horror movie with them. The only character who was not up for grabs was Tigger, because he was actually created by Disney, unlike the rest of them, and let me tell ya, his absence was sorely felt. Anyway, I do want to give credit where credit is due, because while I laugh at this film for taking itself seriously, it does actually manage to pull off some pretty decent horror. Once you get past the absolute absurdity and reconcile with the reality that you're watching Winnie the Pooh and Piglet murder a bunch of hot women, if you take it as any other generic slasher flick, it really isn't that bad. I mean, it's not good, but it's not completely worthless or anything. Like I said, there is some genuinely good horror to be found here. There are plenty of suspenseful scenes and sequences, and there are some kills that are actually pretty creative and fun. These things alone don't make for a great movie, but again, credit where credit is due. There were plenty of moments where I was on the edge of my seat, and my friend who was watching the movie with me was actually invested in one of the characters surviving, so clearly they were doing something right. That being said, it really is just another generic slasher movie when you break it down to its barest bones. The only thing that stands out is the name of the characters being used here because we know them from other things. Besides that, it doesn't really exceed any expectations, and it is unfortunately bogged down significantly by a dumb plot and pretty bad acting. Like, the guy that got to play Christopher Robin cannot act to save his life, and I think that it's pretty important to get Christopher fucking Robin right. This movie has some of your standard dumb protagonist writing that you see in a lot of subpar slasher movies. Like, the one part I will spoil just for the sake of giving an example is there's this character who's in a hot tub outside and she's taking pictures of herself, and in a couple of those pictures she sees Pooh standing way off in the distance watching her, which naturally freaks her out and causes her to get out of the hot tub to investigate the matter further. But after calling out to the random stranger that she just caught stalking her and not being able to find him, she decides everything is fine and she gets back in the hot tub, which, you know, goes about as well as you would think. I was screaming in the theater at her to make even one smart decision that entire scene. Don't worry, we were the only ones in there. Also, Pooh can control a swarm of bees for some reason. Like, I know he has a relationship with bees in the cartoon that this movie was probably trying to reference while also subverting, but it's never really explained how he can do that. The explanation we're given for what these guys even are is that they're the product of humans breeding with animals, and so they're these weird, twisted hybrids. But that doesn't make them magic or anything. I don't know, I guess Pooh is the fucking Candyman. Anyway, I would like to now direct you to the funniest shot in the entire movie, of which there were many. There's a part toward the end where Pooh is looming over a grown man, and the way the camera is angled is meant to show just how massive and imposing this fucking bear is, but it's so comically out of scale with the rest of the movie that I actually passed a kidney stone when I saw this shot. At no other point is Pooh anywhere near this large, and this was the one time that my immersion was completely shattered. That's right, I was willing to accept the premise of a Winnie the Pooh horror movie, alright? I was strapped in, but this single shot took me out of the experience. My immersion for Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey was broken by this shot. I cannot phrase this same sentiment in different ways enough to get the point across to you just how silly this is. And again, it really isn't trying to be. It is not self-aware in the slightest. This is trying to be a real horror movie. So ridiculous shit like this is kinda hard to overlook. All that being said, while I would be giving this movie like a 10 out of 10 just in terms of comedic irony, the people who made this are just begging me to judge it like a real film. So I can't really say it gets any higher than a 4 out of 10.